let's talk about Midsommar. So I saw Midsommar last night and I think I enjoyed it. I don't really know if I did. I mean, it kind of kept my attention for the majority. It was certainly nothing that I'd ever seen before. Yeah, it was just a completely different experience. And for me, it was it was a very different type of, I guess, horror. I mean, because it was still horror, but it was quite interesting mainly because of the fact that everything was so bright and gorgeous looking and stuff, that I found it difficult to I guess be scared for the majority. I think the first was it half an hour-ish? I don't really know how long it was. That was really quite interesting because it kind of played on a lot of horror tropes, and yeah, again, it was just so dark, in, I guess, visuals and in tone. Yeah, there was one point that, because I do this thing with horror, not all the time, and it's not just horror, it's just something that I know that I don't particularly want to see in much detail. So there's a particular bit that I'm not going to talk about in detail, but I just didn't want, because I could see what was happening. I knew, you know, the basic gist, but I do this thing where I kind of like blur my eyes so I can't see it in detail, because it was just going closer and closer, and I was like, I don't want to see this in detail. I know what's going on. But yeah, so I think the first bit was it was the point where I was most scared, and then throughout the rest of it, I was kind of sat there thinking, I'm in quite a, I don't know, it was quite a false sense of security, but at the same time I was tense and nervous because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I think that's what the film did very well. It kind of lulls you into this bright, gorgeous looking kind of countryside of Sweden, and all the people are, you know, lovely. They've all got, they constantly, you know, are, I guess, happy. They're constantly so chilled out, you know. In my head, there is not a point in the film where they kind of move into that horror trope of kind of, I guess, craziness. For me, the standout was Florence Pugh. She was just incredible. All of the actors actually were great, but Florence in particular was just incredible. I will say that I kind of related to her as a character a lot. I think the portrayal of panic attacks was incredible, and just this idea of how to deal with panic attacks and loss and stuff like that was very interesting. Again, I can't really go into detail about it much because I will spoil the film and I don't want to do that. But I think it's quite interesting how it explores that in a way that kind of really makes you think about it in quite a different way. Again, I can't really say much because, yeah, but I loved that. I thought it was really great. Quite thought-provoking, which is always great in a horror. You want that. And yeah, it was just great. I mean, there was, for me, I don't know if it went on for a little bit too long, but that was probably because when I'm in a cinema and a film is really long, I get really uncomfortable. So I think if I was watching this on my sofa with no people anywhere, I'm not going to get into it because, you know what, no I am. it's one of those things that it was such an experience of a film that if I hadn't had very irritating people around me, it would have been completely different. It would have been a very different experience, and it's just so frustrating that grown-ass adults acted so immaturely just because they saw like some naked ladies and other things. Yes. So again, I won't get into it too much, but like it completely just changed. Like I would have had a completely different experience, and it's just frustrating. Anyway, so yeah, but those scenes in particular were just so odd in a very interesting way. And yeah, I thought the sound design was incredible. There was like some such deep bass kind of noises. I don't know sound design that much, just apologies. That just completely like vibrated the entire thing and was just like so like and yeah, like that for me was just so, it was so good in setting the atmosphere. But again, as soon as you got to the festival, again the tone just completely changed. Like it was very interesting, actually. I think the word for the entire thing, which is one of my favourite words in horror, and I use it a lot, but this one just takes the crown as probably one of the most uncanny things I've ever seen, actually. Because you've got these like complete different culture of Sweden, but again, this obviously it's not typical Sweden, but you've got all these people who, you know, can't speak much English. They're all very friendly. They're living in this kind of, just in this countryside where they don't really have much technology. There's a few cars. And they're just very different and have customs that are jarring. But it's the fact that they just see it as completely normal, which then makes you think about it in that way, I guess. It makes you think about how we do things in our culture. Again, I can't say much about it because it'll ruin it, but no, it was very interesting. But yeah, that uncanniness just stuck with me throughout a lot of it because I just didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know their motivations, and there was a turning point where I felt quite at ease until the end, like just for the rest of the film really, because I knew what was going on and I was like, okay, this is fine. So it wasn't your typical horror in the sense that you are kind of waiting for the next scare. It was quite gory, but it was more just that tension throughout the entire film that I loved. And yeah, it was good, I think. I need to watch it again. I'm going to watch it again in the comfort of my own home and sofa, and yeah. But I think I liked it. I didn't hate it. I found it very interesting, and yeah. That's all I can really say about it without going into much detail. I might do a longer video about it because there were so many themes that I personally find so interesting in horror in particular, and I have spoken about them before, but if I did go into them in a bit more detail then I'd be having to talk about the plot, but I will do that at a later date in not a review video. But yeah, I don't really know what to give it, I guess, ratings wise. I don't know. I think it was a gorgeous film. It was beautifully shot, beautifully acted, very well directed. I thought it was so interesting. And I guess for me, the enjoyment factor, I did enjoy it. up until the point with the people around me that made me so angry. But yeah, I guess I'd give it like a 8 out of 10, I think. An 8 out of 10. Let's go for an 8 out of 10. That's what I'm giving it. Midsommar, 8 out of 10. Yeah, if you don't like really weird stuff, this probably isn't for you. If you can handle seeing naked ladies and not hysterically laugh, go see it.